Hey guys, Jonathan here, and you guys have been asking us about British tools and British tool brands. We've done Germany, we've done the USA, and it's about time we look at some British brands, starting with Lumberjack Tools, where we're going to be building the biggest power tool panel we've ever made. And why Lumberjack? Well, these guys support content creators on YouTube. We've come to their showroom, and it is flipping massive. You've got so much stuff in here.
It is. We've got over 200 machines, ranging from hobby to professional, with some more professional tools arriving the end of this year.
And sadly, we don't have time to show you everything, so let's go and have a look.
This is our 12-inch double bevel mitre saw, brand new to our Pro range.
Yeah.
It has all the features what you see the other professional tools out there, just like the well-known yellow one. And so with the aluminium fence, the shadow line, as you can see there.
Yeah, and they're about £800–900, aren't they?
They are. Ours retails at £399.
Yeah, and you can see it's a proper heavy-duty thing. It's got like the aluminium rail here with all the markers on. It's really smooth, and big heavy-duty rubber wheels as well. It's a bit of a beast. I do love the shadow line because you don't get that on many of them. Obviously, you do get them on the top ones, and obviously this one as well. Some have a laser, don't they?
They do, but this is a lot more accurate.
Yeah, absolutely. I was looking at this exact same thing, or very similar, at Axminster, and I'm sure it was about £800–900. So what's your price on this one?
Ours is £329 on this one.
Yeah, it's not far off what you can pay for one of these. This is like, I saw those everywhere, this kind of smaller scroll saw. Yeah,
you do see these everywhere. It's a common one with the 16-inch, but obviously we had our Pro range just come in, so that we decided to go for the 21-inch. Yeah. Just so, like you said, to get more room. Yeah, when it comes to cutting foam, having like a much deeper throat like this, you can actually rotate the foam around, you can cut radiuses on corners and stuff, so very handy. But when I saw the price for £800–900, I thought there's no real chance of getting one. That is a much better price, I like it. I recognise this thing. I'm sure I've seen that on Nick Zametti's Lumberjack. So this one is, it goes up and down, right, and it's like you can change it over to the different sanding heads and like table adjust, all like universal. You can, so use it as a belt and a spindle.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty much a two-in-one machine.
Wow, I love it. Little belter. This is a cool looking thing. I was drawn to this immediately. It's like a speed vice or something?
Yeah, it's called a jaw horse.
Right.
So it's good for obviously clamping your wood. Pull that in, press it down, lock it off, and it's fully sturdy if you want to have a go.
Yeah, that is pretty sturdy, isn't it? I like that. So I've actually seen these before, but I've never used one. So you just press it down, do you? To like...
lift the clip.
That is a pretty beastly thing, I like that. And then push it down again to get a really good clamp on it.
And then lock it.
That is flipping stout, you know. When you're working on your own on a site, sometimes having a bench is handy, but sometimes you need something to like just hold something tight, don't you? And a bench won't do. That's awesome, that is. And how much are they?
$99.99.
I'll have one. So you guys know we love a simple giveaway on this channel, and today's video is no different. Lumberjack have stepped up with 5 bits of swag. You've got these really cool hats and t-shirts, and if you want one, you know what to do. Drop a comment below, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and show some love to Lumberjack. We'll put links in the description to go and check out their website, check out their socials. Let's get back to it. The pièce de resistance is this cast iron table saw, and this is a beast. I saw it at the Harrogate show where you were exhibiting, and this was the first time I laid eyes on it, but I'd seen it before then on Keith Brown, Rag and Bone Brown's YouTube channel, where he did a full review on this, and he had real high praise for it. And because I'm in the market for a table saw, I had already eyeballed this, so I'm glad to see it now in person, and it's a beast, isn't it?
It is indeed.
Would you say this is one of your most popular bits of kit?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely, we can't keep it in stock enough.
The thing that really drew me to it is I don't have a lot of space in our workshop, and it kind of lifts up entirely, doesn't it, off the floor?
It does, yeah, fully mobile with one press.
And most of these cast iron saws are super heavy and they're like fixed in position, aren't they? So I do love it. I could do with one of these in the workshop, to be honest. But one thing I've noticed is you don't have any cordless tools in here.
Good eye, Jonathan. Yes, we do have a full range.
Yeah.
But right now we don't have a display for them. So things like you're here.
Right.
We've made some room over there.
That wall?
That wall, yeah, that big section over there. See if you could then make us one.
So it's a fair size space you've got there. I reckon that'll have to be some build, some big old panel with the logo in and stuff, and all
of course the logo, yeah.
Batteries, charger.
Yep, right. The whole kit.
What do you say we do a swap? The table saw for the biggest display we've ever made.
Deal.
Deal. So they didn't just send me the table saw, they sent me 2 full pallets of stuff. First things first, I can see the TS1800, and they've also sent a miter saw. I can see a few other boxes too, so I'm excited to get into it and see what we've got, and hopefully, amongst all of this, we've got the 20 volt cordless stuff we can put in the power tool wall. So let's get it all open. It's like a goodie box, this. What have we got in here? The nailed gun. We've got the little mini plunge saw. We've got a work light. We've got the detail mouse sander. They're cool. I don't think they want those in the wall, so they've got some clamps and some grips. Oh, cool, fast clamps. Oh, they sent a few different sizes too. Nice. And then we've got the SDS drill. So that is definitely not all of it, because that is some of the more quirky cordless tools. The classic stuff like the jigsaw and the combi drill, I'm guessing that's in here. Yes. So this is what I was expecting. They have a standard 8-piece kit. They have various different kits on the website, and I think 14 is possibly the maximum, but I'll double check that. The idea that there's 14 unique tools, I mean, we're all used to this in the power tool industry nowadays, that the batteries work on a lot of different tools, but 14 is a lot, isn't it? That's a lot of variety. Right, so that is the 8-piece kit, and that makes sense now. So this has got the combi drill, impactor, LED hand torch, and obviously there's like a work floodlight there. And then they've got the grinder, standard skill saw, or circular saw, and then there's the mini plunge saw over there, jigsaw, reciprocating saw, recip saw, and then a hoover as well, which is a pretty cool addition. So that's the 8-piece kit, which is an absolute flipping bargain. Price on the screen. That's the first thing. When I saw this stuff at Harrogate's show, I thought if you're setting out on a making journey, or you want to kind of get into making stuff, you can't go wrong with an 8-piece kit to start you off. 4 batteries, a charger, that's so much variety. But then obviously if you want to grow, you can still buy the other bits and bobs to expand your set, including a nail gun, which is awesome. Right, I think that's pretty much it. That's all of the cordless stuff, and we've also got their brand new, I believe, when I mentioned that we needed a miter saw, this one wasn't released. So we're pretty early doors with this. This is the double bevel miter saw, 14-inch. It's the LSM 12 DSA. So I think that's a brand new model for them. So that's pretty exciting to get that open. And then this is a flipping whopper. This box weighs a ton. It's a 14-inch floor standing bandsaw, so that should look pretty beastie next to this table saw. So happy days. But the plan for building the power tool wall doesn't really involve the bandsaw, so I think I'm going to park that to one side along with a miter saw. We'll use those for a future project. But if I can get this unpacked and set up, I can actually use that to build this panel. And this is a pretty big panel we're going to have to build, because we want a big Lumberjack logo, big shadow foam logo, all 14 of these, plus the charger and batteries. It's going to be a big old build. I'll be much happier doing it on a table saw though, rather than all freehand. So yeah, let's get this unboxed and set up. So there we go, all finished. Took a few hours, but the manual did walk me through the process quite thoroughly. So it wasn't too bad. It's just a bit of a tricky thing, isn't it? Putting together a machine like this, because it's not just putting the pieces together, it's also leveling out the bed, leveling out these 2 wings, making sure these are perfectly square to each other. So there's a fair bit of setup, setting up the riving knife. I don't think I've quite got the fence right. It still feels a little bit tight, so I will go back to that. But the one thing I wanted to check before I go any further is how square out of the box is it? Because I've set up the knife, and I've made sure that the blade is square to the rails. So what I'll do is I'll set this to 55, that is, and that's just to the edge of the little insert. And we'll do a little cut because I have plugged it in. So I'll put the guard down. I've also got a little nifty laser on here. Love a little laser. Yeah. So start her up. What a beauty. I've got a little bit of sterling board. What do you call it? a nice looking cut. Quite like these too, having these protectors to stop any wood flying out the back. So I feel like I'm looking forward to using this. A lot safer than the Evolution saw I had, which was great, but it was a fold away, pack away saw. So not nearly as solid as this thing. 55 we had it set at, and that is bang on 55. Here you go, have a look at that. So that is flipping smashing. I'm happy with that. I think I might just back that off a bit, set this fence so it's a bit smoother running, but I am happy with that. So far, my main thoughts on it are it's solid. It's a beast, this thing. It went together really nicely and it feels solid. Everything about it locks in tightly. There's no flimsy bits. The base, the rolling base, it's one pedal, and the whole thing, even though it's cast and it's heavy, is on wheels. So I can wheel it off to the side, I can bring it out, and for me, I'm not going to be using this regularly, but when I am doing a build, I want it to be accurate, and that's why I wanted a decent saw. So I'm loving it. Next thing is to unpack all of the cordless tools and these ones here so I can see how big this panel's going to have to be, because I'm not actually sure how much space it's going to take up. So let's unbox all this lot.
We still need to discuss your addiction to unboxing videos.
Right, so I've unpacked everything and I think I've got an idea now of how big the panel needs to be. I'm thinking something around 1 meter wide, because our sheets, the largest we can do width-wise is 1 meter. So if I go for 1 meter, I can get a nice spread, nice gaps between things, and I've got a couple of other bulky items. So I need at least 1 meter and then a bit more, so 1.4. So if I go for like 1.8, that'll give me room for a logo at the top, bit of room at the bottom for a footnote, shadow foam logo. I think that's probably how big the panel needs to be. So first thoughts on the tools, I particularly like the multi-tool. This is pretty cool because it's got a quick release head on it. Now, for this price point, to have a multi-tool that's got a quick release head on it like this, you only really get that on the more expensive ones. I had a Makita one that didn't even have that. You had to use an Allen key to change the multi-tool bit. So I love that. That's particularly cool. Also, the saws have got lasers on. This is a multi-saw. That's a circular saw. They both have a laser on. And usually, you draw a line and then straight away it's covered in sawdust. So having a laser that will go over the top of the sawdust, I think, is a great little feature. And everything else feels really nice and solid, and the red and black as well, so that's a winner in my book already. So I think we're going to need some red foam, that way we can do a big red Lumberjack logo. I've got a rough idea of the size now, so I think I'm going to have to get some materials, so it's off to B&Q. Right, so back from B&Q, I got a couple of lengths of 3x2 CLS, which should be enough material for the rear frame. I've got an 8 foot by 4 foot sheet, 12mm plywood, which will be perfect for the back. Just got to chop it all down, and for that, I've got this lovely shiny table saw, so that'll give it a proper test. So yeah, let's start cutting. Right, so that's my first go with the saw, and I'm pretty happy with it, you know. I think it's a smart bit of kit, this. Unfair test, really, because I've not hooked it up to our extraction system. I just wanted to quickly rip down those planks. It has kicked up a fair bit of dust, but one of the big selling points of this was how good the extraction was. Rag and Bone Brown, like I say, that was the video I watched that kind of sold me on this. His saw had a hood and a bottom extraction, and I can't remember what brand that was, but it was a more expensive one, and this one kind of blew it out of the water. It was pulling all the dust away, no kind of dust left on the surface. So the next cuts I do, I'll get this fully connected to the extraction system, but I'm pretty happy with it. Feels very safe to use. I love this guard here. It really covers everything. That's stopping material from kicking back, because sometimes you let go of something, especially with smaller bits of timber, you can let go and it'll just throw it at you basically, or kick it straight out the back. I also really like every little thing that comes with it has got a little home. So the push stick has got a little holder down here. We've got a little cable wrap. Down this side, we've got a little holder for the fence and for the mitre sled as well. So pretty cool that everything's got a home. I like that. I'm definitely loving the wheeling mechanism. So I've just been cutting in the middle, press on that footstep, push it back to the wall. It's out of the way. Love that. So onto the build. I've ripped down these 3 planks. So I've got to cut one of these in half basically to make a bottom and top rail. And then I can basically screw all this together, make a big frame. You've seen it before. We've done another one of these. So I'll make all that up. Let's get to it. the majority of the panel all done now, and it's really flipping solid. We've got a 12mm sheet of plywood on the back, and then we've got this strip pine. All of these materials came from B&Q, and this was a super simple build. I probably could have done it better. It would have been nice to do some finger joints or some dovetails or pocket screws. Let me know in the comments, if you were building a simple frame like this, what would you have done? I've basically done what you might call butt joints and then piloted it and screwed it. The benefit is, when I put the architrave on the front that locks the foam in place, I'll always be able to unscrew the back panel and then take the foam out if I wanted to replace it, and I'll be able to have some nice, neat architrave glued in place and pinned so I don't have any screw holes. So I'm pretty happy with this way, and it is solid. That is the main thing. Now when it comes to building the panel, I thought it'd be a crime not to use the tools that are going in it. So obviously Lumberjack have sent us these tools. They're going back with this panel to the Lumberjack showroom, but I wanted to give them a bit of a test out because the first thing about these is they're really well priced. If you don't have any power tools and you're looking to get into a power tool range, I don't think you can get better value. So just to talk you through a little bit of the pricing on these, that one there is 30 quid, that one is 50, that is 50, and that one is 60. But if you buy all four of those with two 4-amp hour batteries, it's 220, including a charger. And I thought, if you're getting into power tools, if you were to buy one of the big brands, one of the major brands, for 220 quid, you'd probably get an impact drill, couple of batteries, a charger, and maybe one other body-only accessory, but you'd be squeezed to get 220 quid's worth of tools. Now with Lumberjack, you can get the full kit. The 14-piece kit they sent us, which is flipping everything you can think of that needs a battery, was $789.99. You're never gonna need more power tools than that pretty much, and if you're getting into woodworking, it's a pretty good brand to go with. The quality of them, I'd put them at around about a Ryobi level. They're not like professional grade Makita, DeWalt, Milwaukee. They've got a nice feel to them. They've all got LED lights built in, so when you do work in like dark areas, you've got all of the features you'd expect from a premium drill, from a premium impactor, and even the circular saw's got this little laser guide to help make sure you can see, and that is handy. When I was building this, I'm using a speed square and kind of penciling out my lines, and straight away you cover it in sawdust, you can't see it, so having a little laser guide is pretty handy. And cutting all of this timber was no trouble for this, but you'd expect so. It's a brand new blade, brand new saw, so we didn't put it too much through its paces, but it made light work of chopping all this up, and so did the table saw. The table saw is another level. So next thing to do is fill this box with foam, so then we can do a layout and cut all the tools in. Now I made the whole panel 17 centimeters deep, and that's so we can have a 30mm back piece of foam, which will be red face up, and then we can have two 70mm sheets, and that means we can cut all the way through 2 sheets for something like the circular saw, which needs a lot of depth, and then some of the other items will probably just go all the way through the 70mm sheet. So that should do the trick, a 30mm and 2 70mm, and then if I measure the box itself, we can get some sheets of foam cut down perfectly to size with our machines. And if you want some custom size foam, shadowfoam.com, we've got a custom size page. You can plug in any width and any length up to 2 meters by 1 meter. So this is literally 965 millimeters by 196 centimeters. So I can plug those into shadowfoam.com, get 2 70mm sheets that size, 1 30mm, they'll fit perfectly in there, and that's job done. So let me go and get the foam, and then we can do a layout.
Let's get that foam.
Right, so there we go. That's all cut, 3 pieces. 30mm is going in the bottom, and that's going to be red face up. There we go, that is exactly what we wanted. A perfect fit, nice and tight up to the edges. There we go. Next piece is also red side up, because then I can cut all the way through the top sheet as well. Another perfect fit. Tell you what, make it 3 out of 3. Bit of cheat really, they're all the same size. Look at that, filled to the top. Looks like I filled it with self-leveler, doesn't it? That's all the foam done. Next thing, let's get all the tools on here and put a layout together. So there we go, that is a rough layout. I'm pretty happy with that. We've gone for a big Lumberjack logo, and that is the second edition. The first one here just felt a little bit too small. This is the biggest panel we've ever made, and I just felt like it needs a really big logo. And when it comes to cutting logos, it's a really simple technique that I go for. Easy to do it at home. All you need is any A4 printer, and it can even be black and white. And basically, all of these sheets here are A4. I printed off the logo and then just taped them together. So really simple technique. And then once I'm happy with it, then I've sellotaped it to the foam itself. I've measured it a couple of times to make sure that's perfectly where I want it. And then all I'll be doing now is just cutting around the letters with a scalpel. Basically, it's as if I'm cutting the actual letters out, and as a side effect, you end up cutting into the foam. then I can take the paper away, make sure all the cuts meet up, and then peel back the foam. But instead of peeling back like really deep, I'll just be peeling back 5mm just to expose the red colour underneath. So you get a really great contrast, and logos in foam look fantastic, I think. More people should do it. It's very easy, simple, and it looks machine cut when you do these logos. It looks really bang on. With the tools, I'll be cutting all the way through the top 17mm layer from pretty much most of these, and obviously the layer underneath is red side up, so you'll see a really lovely contrast. And then with the big skill saw, we'll probably have to go down a little bit deeper, cut a few layers down. Same with the light, I'll have to get a bit clever, and then I'll do this logo at the end, because I could always move it up a bit or move it back a bit. And guaranteed, this layout might tweak and change a little bit. So all I've got to do now is a heck of a lot of cutting, and I think I'm going to start with the Lumberjack logo. So for that, all I'm going to need is a cutting kit. Our basic cutting kits come with anti-cut gloves, scalpel, blades, everything you need, and that's all I'm going to be using to do this entire panel, which is mental really if you think about it. All of this foam to cut, all these big chunky items, and all I'm going to be doing it with is a £15 cutting kit that comes free with most orders. So, all that being said, let's get cutting. So there we go, that is a heck of a lot of cutting, but I'm really pleased with this panel. It's a flipping beast. I think this is one of the trickiest layouts I think I've ever done, because usually I try and puzzle everything as close together as I can. So I'll be getting items within like 10-15mm of each other to fit as many power tools into the panel as possible and to make the panel as small as possible. It was a case of filling it equally, having even gaps. Have you ever tried drawing a logo on a piece of paper and by the end you're kind of squeezing all the letters in because you didn't get the spacing right? Well, I didn't want that to happen with this. I didn't want to spread out all the top tools and then end up squeezing everything together down here. I wanted it to look balanced, and I think what I've achieved is a really nice balance. The gaps are equal all the way around. I put the batteries down at the bottom with nice even gaps. So with the 14-piece kit you get 4 4-amp hour batteries, 2 2-amp hour batteries. So I use them like a final underline, and then we've got the charger next to them, and then underneath the charger I've hidden the cable. We don't like the cable being cut in on the surface. I don't want to spoil the effect. Then we've got the big clunky items that kind of match and look symmetrical. We've got the LED light, which is a beast. Look how deep that is. So I've cut right down deep for this kind of little stand to make sure that it sits nice and flush and it looks cool. I did the same thing with a circular saw. So this thing cuts through 3 layers, and basically you can see I cut the circle for the motor first and cut that right down, and then went layer by layer to get to a point where the blades only cut shallow into the foam, but it looks nice and flush and matches everything else. All of the other items are pretty self-explanatory. One thing I did have to take a lot of care with is making sure all of these items are square, because when I stand this up where it's going to be, if an item's wonky, some of them like the skill saw, you'd never know if that was slightly wonky, but a couple of them, like the nail gun, like the recip saw, if they were wonky, it would draw the eye. So there was no real trick to that. It was a case of just getting a square. I had a couple of squares on the go, and then also just measuring little flat points. It helps that I've got a nice square box here to work from, and basically just took a lot of time and extra care. And then along the bottom I used a strip of masking tape, and again just dead simple masking tape strip across the bottom, made sure all of the batteries are in line, and I did the same thing at the top to make sure that the gap between the logo and this top row of items was nice and equal all the way across. Speaking of the logo, I think that turned out really well. I've got really nice clean lines on this one, and it's not often I use a ruler when I'm cutting out the letters. Usually I freehand around the letters, but with this, because there were so many long straight lines and I didn't want any wobble, I just used a standard steel ruler and literally just cut all of the straight lines with a ruler to make sure I got this really clean effect. Looks machine cut to me. I think it's one of my best logos. I think it helps that it's so big as well, because even the small detail like this little highlight on the saw still pick out and they look really, really good. So the last thing I've got to do to finish this off before I can stand it up is I need to put a bead around the edge. Now I've got some strips left from when I slit these side rails down, but these 50mm strips are a bit too wide really. I want it to be less thick and I want it to not get as close to the tools. But if I rip those down on our brand new table saw to about 30mm, that should just about do the trick, and that's going to hold this foam panel in place nice and securely. And I think it's just going to finish it off really nicely, and I will miter the corners. And then once I've done that, I'm going to go back and I'm going to add some finger pulls. Now I don't want to add the finger pulls just yet because I want to make sure that I don't get too close to the beading and I keep the aesthetic looking really good. So job 1 is add all the beading, job 2 is then add the finger pulls, and then finally stand it up on its feet and see how tall this thing is. Does it look as good stood up as it does lying down? So back to the table saw, and actually I've got a top tip, and it's not my top tip, Dragon Bone Brown's top tip, because I think it was the 3rd cut I made on this. I cut it wrong, and that's because I didn't use the indicator on the right hand side, I used the indicator on the left, and I didn't even pay attention. I just, in the flow, used the left indicator and then cut the board literally like 10-12 centimeters too short. So this is Dragon Bone Brown's tip. Put a bit of black tape over that left indicator and then you won't make the same mistake. So I'm going to do that right now before I start using it again. So that's the saw set. Let's get cutting. So there we go, all done, and I really like this little bit of framing that we've done on the front because it's holding the foam in place, so the foam sheet's not going to fall out, and it does kind of inset the foam. It looks really good. I've got a nice clean line now around the edge, and I did miter the corners. Previously, I've kind of just done butt joints, and then there were quite a lot of comments about mitering them. I did use the circular saw freehand. I didn't have time to set up that miter saw, but that is the next build we do. I'll be setting up that double level miter saw, and I'll be using the proper miter station to do that. But I think I've done a pretty good job. I used a bit of the sawdust and some PVA glue to fill in some of the pin heads, because I glued these frames on and then pinned them in place. So I filled in the pin holes. Always open to advice though, so if you can let me know in the comments. I'm not a woodworker, I'm an electrician, so I do enjoy a bit of woodworking, but I'm always happy to learn. So let me know, how would you have done this if you were making a big old panel? But that is it, all done. I'm really happy with it. It looks really, really smart. And all I've got to do now is stand it up and see how flipping big it is. And will it fit in the van? Because I've got to take this thing down to Wolverhampton. So it's stood up now, and it's nice and stable to be fair. And you can really get a sense of the scale now it's stood up, how big it is. I'm glad we did it 2 meters, so anybody stood next to it is going to be dwarfed by it. I'm pretty tall, and it's still bigger than me. So hopefully Lumberjack like it. All I've got to do now, get it in the van. That fits there like a glove. Just got to put some tools in it now.
Works great.
That's class.
It's better than I even imagined, to be fair. Yeah.
I love how the insert's red as well, makes it pop. How heavy is that without the tools?
Not that heavy.
Not that heavy.
Happy days. So there we have it. That is the biggest power tool wall I've ever made, and I'm looking forward to seeing this at a couple of upcoming shows, including Maker Central, because we're going to be going to Maker Central, so will Lumberjack. So if you want to see this in person, it will be at the Maker Central show. Now this beastie kit here is 790 quid for everything on this board and an extra charger. So if you're looking to get started into woodworking, you need some power tools, this is a really, really good starting point. And Lumberjack have hooked us up with a 5% discount code. All you have to do is type in Shadow Foam at checkout, and you can get 5% off. Links for all this stuff are in the description. And let us know while you're down there, which other British tool brands would you like us to go and have a look at? Could be Eclipse, we saw Robert Sorby at the European show. Any other brands you'd like us to go and see, we can do something with them, we can look at their tools. Every single comment down below will be entered into the draw for one of the hats and one of the t-shirts too. So make sure you don't miss out, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.